Hi, I'm Sophia,
And I'm Tali.
and we're from Discovery Place Science. We're about to tell you about Extremophiles. So, in the film Secrets of Great Salt Lake, we learn about all kinds of life that depend on the unique environment of the lake. Not many organisms can live in these salty conditions, though. So, why is that? Let's go and find out.
Extremophiles are any organisms, usually small or microorganisms, that survive and thrive in an environment that most other life would not be able to live in. Our planet is full of extreme places like ocean trenches, acid lakes, hydrothermal vents, polar ice, volcanoes, nuclear contamination sites, and more. Extremophiles have found a home in all of these places.
The Great Salt Lake forms an extreme environment called a hypersaline lake. Hyper means over or above, and saline means salt.
The extremophiles that live in salty environments are called halophiles. Halo is another word that means salt, and phile means to love, so we know that halophiles love salt.
Salt is a mineral that many organisms need to survive. In the human body, salt is an essential electrolyte that makes it possible for our muscles to move, helps us retain and regulate water, and many other important functions that keep us alive. However, too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
The amount of salt in the environment is a delicate balance. Salt draws water towards it, which dries out anything in its surrounding environment. That's why it's such a good preservative, since it sucks the moisture out of food goods and prevents bacteria from forming. But when you're a living organism, you want to hold on to your water. Organisms that aren't adapted to extremely salty environments will dry out, wither, and die.
Halophiles have several adaptations that let them live in extremely salty conditions. These adaptations mostly keep them from becoming dehydrated and makes it easier for them to hold on to water.
Many animals that aren't necessarily halophiles but live in salty places like the ocean have their own adaptations to help them expel salt from their bodies. Many ocean fish have organs that collect salt and expel it, and animals like the iguana have the ability to literally sneeze out salt.
Even the most salt-loving halophiles have their limits, though. Extremophiles, along with all life on the planet, have limits to what kind of conditions they can live in. This is called a tolerance range. A tolerance range is the range of conditions like temperature, humidity, salinity, and etc. that a given organism can withstand.
In the film, we learn that there are lots of flies in the Great Salt Lake because frogs, fish, and their eggs can't survive in the salt. We know that the salt levels in the lake are far outside of these animals' tolerance range.
On the other hand, the halophilic brine shrimp are animals that thrive in salt, and the historic conditions of the lake are perfectly within this brine shrimp's tolerance range. These shrimp are considered moderate halophiles, which means that they can tolerate the salt in the southern arm of the Great Salt Lake, which is about 7 to 15%.
However, the Great Salt Lake, especially the North Arm, has become saltier over time due to human interference. This has caused salinification in the lake, increasing the salt levels to over 26%. This is too high for even the brine shrimp, so instead, the only organisms that can survive in the upper arm are the extreme halophiles, the microorganism Archaea. Brine shrimp, sometimes called sea monkeys, are a tiny species of saltwater shrimp. They're able to survive such salty conditions thanks to specialized gills called bronchia, which expels excess salt from their bodies.
Though tiny, a half-inch long at the most, there are many brine shrimp in the Great Salt Lake, an estimated 17 trillion around the time of the bird migrations.
These small shrimp have been supporting the Great Salt Lake since its formation 11,000 years ago. Brine shrimp are an indispensable food source for migratory birds, which connects the lake to distant ecosystems. The fact that the north arm of the lake has become inhospitable to brine shrimp is a major concern and has already had a negative impact on the migrating birds. Humans are also dependent on brine shrimp. Brine shrimp eggs are sold around the world to feed farm-raised fish. If you've eaten seafood, there's a good chance you've eaten farm fish or shrimp that was raised on a diet of brine shrimp from the Great Salt Lake. Thankfully, the state government, scientists, farmers, and the local community have been working together to increase the flow of fresh water into the lake to preserve this essential ecosystem.